Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting for January 14th, 2026. The meeting has been properly posted. Can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mrs. Witkowski?
Here.
Mrs. Sapersky?
Here.
Mr. Sprague?
Here.
Dr. Kahn?
Here.
Mrs. Yank?
Here.
And I am here.
Thank you. And we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Hope and Sawyer will help us lead the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion was made by Mrs. Sapersky, seconded by Dr. Kahn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Ben Franklin Elementary presentation. Mrs. Yank, please.
So before I introduce the group and what they're going to be talking about tonight, I just wanted to, so Mr. Hine has been with the district for about 9 years, I think, but he's still relatively new at Ben Franklin. So what I did was I emailed several staff people at Ben Franklin just to elicit maybe a sentence or two about, their thoughts on how he's doing and kind of what impact he might have had. So if you'll indulge me, I'm going to just read a few of the comments. Mr. Hine has been a positive presence and a supportive leader. His encouragement and genuine care, both professionally and personally, has been greatly appreciated. Mr. Hine is an enthusiastic, which I can attest to, and approachable principal who genuinely connects with both students and staff. His Thursday morning meetings are something students look forward to as they are engaging, positive, and meaningful. Throughout the day, he can often be seen walking the hallways and stopping into classrooms, taking the time to check in, encourage students, and support teachers. Mr. Hine has united our school with our weekly Thursday morning mini assemblies. We get to hear inspiring messages from guest speakers in the community, watch student performers, and other fun activities. It helps us to cheer on each other and to be proud of the hard work we do. The assemblies have helped students and staff feel more connected. Through Mr. Hine's innate ability to make connections to all staff and students, his profound positive impact on Ben Franklin Elementary is immeasurable. To better the Ben Franklin school community, his authentic, genuine actions have built solid relationships and increased the esteem of students. Ben Franklin is thankful to have the leadership and dedication of Mr. Hine to maintain high standards of academic instruction and well-being. Mr. Hine has been instrumental in bringing positivity and encouragement to Ben Franklin. He has demonstrated a commitment to helping our staff grow and also takes into consideration our viewpoints. He continues to find ways to help staff feel appreciated and encourages feedback that can help him improve as an administrator. So those were just a few of the comments that I got back from a number of staff people. So I'm so happy to have Ben Franklin as my school. And then as far as the introduction, do they?
Welcome, Mr. Hine, please.
Okay. I do have another introduction for the presentation.
Oh, great.
So Ben Franklin Elementary is a learning community grounded in the Ben Way, which stands for believe in yourself, encourage others, and never stop learning. Ben Franklin is committed to educating the whole child by fostering strong academic growth, positive relationships, and a supportive school culture where every student belongs and thrives in their school values. Ben Franklin's goal this year centers on high-quality instruction aligned to clear data practices, creating stronger systems of support for all learners, and intentional social-emotional development. Through collaboration among staff, families, and students, Ben Franklin continues to focus on continuous improvement while nurturing confident, capable learners, and intentional social-emotional development. Through collaboration among staff, families, and students, Ben Franklin continues to focus on for future success, capable learners prepared for future success. Tonight, we're joined by staff members from Ben Franklin, Amanda Boris, Stephanie Lewis, Tara Pernacharo.
Furnicharo, yeah.
Pernacharo,
Yeah.
and Jordan Hine. We also have two first graders, Sawyer and Hope, to tell us a little bit about Ben Franklin is working on this year.
All right. Awesome. We can skip to the next slide there. Yes. And so thank you so much for that warm welcome. And thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit more about what Ben Franklin is up to over the last calendar year since we've had a chance to present before. So there's our team that's here with us tonight and their roles. Mrs. Boris is our first grade teacher. Mrs. Lewis is a cross-categorical teacher. And then everybody that's at the table tonight that's a staff member is one of our school leadership team members as well. So lots of investment in our school goals and obviously an investment in not just their own classrooms, but making Ben Franklin better as a whole as well. And then we also have Sawyer and Hope, and they have the honor and privilege of being children of staff members, which is great. So make sure you tell Mom about all the nice things that were said earlier. Okay, that was amazing. Thank you for that, Mary.
You're welcome.
So they will star in a little bit of a walkthrough video that they helped narrate to kind of show like what we're doing in our classrooms in a way that will give you like a glimpse of student life and staff life and that kind of stuff. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but we can advance to our next slide here. So tonight we're going to talk about our WIN practices. So WIN stands for what I need. Before we do that, just to kind of lay some groundwork around what the purpose of WIN is and how we're using that to drive student achievement. So our school goal this year focuses on literacy. This is our second year focusing on literacy, and we had a lot of success last year in attempting to simplify our goals and finding opportunities where all staff can see that if I move, 2 students from my classroom from what we would consider like not on target, which is below the 60th percentile, to above target, which is above the 60th percentile, that will allow us to accomplish our school goal. So in taking it from this broad goal of we want to gain 10% in overall achievement and really breaking it down, Ben Franklin is blessed to be one of the smaller schools, the smallest elementary school in our district. And so when we look at if in a classroom level, if we move 2.5 students past that trend line or that target line, which you can't have a half student, so it'd be 3, then that means that we will accomplish our school goal, and that team or that classroom will have done their part to make sure that they were accountable to that school goal. So that's been helpful in our own growth, and we're going to continue that this year. And you can see a little bit of a breakdown based off of where students started in the fall, and then we are just finishing up over the course of this month our winter assessments, and so we'll have some fresh data to then recalibrate where our goals are headed. Now we can skip to the next slide and talk a little bit about how we accomplish those goals.
Yeah, so one piece that is helping to support our growth for all of our learners at Ben Franklin is our MLSS system. MLSS is a multi-level systems of support. It's a school-wide framework that really utilizes data, human and curricular resources, and a continuous improvement. And it focuses on academic, behavioral, and social emotional, so really hitting the whole child. Okay, we can advance. Some ways we have done this over the course of kind of through last spring and summer is really thinking about revamping our daily school schedule, being intentional with providing set ongoing times for teachers to collaborate, as well as having that WIN, which is the what I need time in small groups, having that intentionally built into our schedule so all students have an opportunity to get those targeted needs. And then through, that's kind of that operations. And then as we moved into the fall winter time, thinking about when we're meeting as a team, coming together to the table and bringing data to the table to help guide and our conversations and our decisions for those students. And as we continue to progress throughout the school year, really leaning into continuing those cycles of meeting within 5 and 10 weeks, revising and recalibrating as we need, and really leaning into that data to tell the story of how that what the students' needs are and making those decisions and implementing them.
Mhm. So we kind of broke this down. It was about this time last year that we started developing our schedule that we're living in right now. And that has, I think there's been lots of wins, some gains that we've seen. And our goal is to continue to like tinker and test and revise additional ways that we can build that out just from an operational lens. And then once that exists, then we can really lean into as a staff, like what process, what instructional strategy, what collaboration routines are we going to bring in to make sure we're filling that time. So excited about some of those changes.
And then as far as when all of the support happens, there are multiple times throughout a day, but our two main times would be the win time that you had heard about. That's for 30 minutes each day, and that was built into every teacher's schedule that they mentioned. And so it's a dedicated time where our school tried to find supports, whether that's EAs or someone else that can come into the room, and we really try and push in to do some small groups with teachers and those educational assistants. Some students are doing independent work during that time. Some might be finishing up work. Some might be in interventions with the math or literacy specialists. So it truly is like what I need, what that child needs for that day. The teachers are planning appropriately. You'll see in the video, but in my class, I currently have a high school intern working in my room. So during this time, it's a great opportunity for her too to be able to get experience pulling a small group so that those students are getting what they need, and so is the intern in getting to have that experience as well, which is a nice opportunity all around. So there's those tier 2 and tier 3 intervention, which occur 1 to 5 days per week, depending on the needs of the children. And also students that receive special education support, they can get their SDI time during that, which is that specialized instruction. And outside of win time, there's also a small group instruction time, which we think of it more as like literacy small group instruction time. So that would be where you're really focusing on specific literacy needs, and we're really intentional based on where we see the gaps. Again, if there's SDI that's needed during that time, and students can be grouped based on needs, and they can also be shared between classes. So myself and the other first grade teacher, if I have one student that has this need and she has 3, we might combine that to make one full group in order to meet their needs in the most efficient way. So a really flexible time. And students aren't set in those groups for long periods of time. It's just like an ongoing thing that we talk about in some of our PLC meetings, which you'll hear about next. So we can look at those flexible groupings.
Like Amanda had just said, we kind of have 2 different times in our week that are really sacred to us teachers specifically to plan those things. So on Tuesday mornings, we meet as PLCs, professional learning communities. First, we meet as a whole school team. If we have to get messaging from administration or leadership, that happens then. And then we're allowed to work within our grade level teams to kind of do some of this planning, analyzing student data, making those small groups. And it's a really great time because it happens before school, so all of the teams can get together. The special education teachers are there. We can work with coaching, administration, to kind of set some of those goals for our classrooms and what we want to do during that win time and with those interventions. And then we also have common planning time weekly. So each grade level has a time set aside where their students are in specials. They can meet. Again, the coaches is there. Mr. Hine is always there. Special education teachers to kind of do some of that extra planning. So if we're going on field trips or collaborative lesson planning, making those groups. So if we're combining classrooms, we see which students are in each group, focusing on upcoming assessments and modifications if we need for students.
All right. You want to talk through what we might see in our video here?
So Mr. Hine went around during our win time, and it's both myself as well as Mrs. Kim, who is our other first grade teacher. We have it at the same time. And so you guys will get the experience of seeing what some of these groupings look like. So you'll see students working either one-on-one or in a small group with a teacher. You'll see some students working independently, whether that be on some of our approved resources like Lexia or Zern, things like that. You'll see also our educational assistants pushing in and working on fluency with some students. You'll see my high school intern. So you can just kind of see what that time looks like and how we try to make it as impactful as possible for the students.
It'll be on the next slide too, Jess. It might autoplay,
Is that easier?
probably. That way it doesn't play twice.
I'm Sawyer. And I'm Hope. And I'm Will. And we are first grade Bobcats. We're here to teach you about win time. Win stands for what I need. This is a time that we all get what we need to be successful. It is about 30 minutes per day. Our teachers do a great job organizing. Yeah, it isn't easy trying to wrangle so many first graders. But we do our best and we have great routines. During win time, we have routines and stations for learning. At one station, we work with a high school friend. She is doing something called an internship. You can just listen to the words.
Sound it
if
out.
there's a short vowel, then it's that one. If it's no short vowel, it's the other one.
You're right. Good job. Can we say it out on our fingers?
Yeah.
So,
Cheese.
right.
I think
So let's sound out itch.
itch. It's a short vowel.
It is. You're right.
At another station, we might be working with one of our teacher assistants on fluency or other important reading skills. Our teacher assistants are awesome and really enjoy working with them. At the core of win time is our small group time with our teacher. We work on skills that we need to be skillful readers. As part of this time, our teachers measure our progress. They take lots of notes. They then use those notes to design the plan for win time. I'd say they are super professional teachers who are responsive to student needs. At other stations, we work independently on computer resources. These are called Lexia, Zern, or we can read from a digital library. Also, during win time, we get to work with our interventionists. These teachers are experts in our math and reading curriculum. Win time requires some careful planning, and our teachers have high expectations for us at each of our stations. It's great to work with so many caring teachers during this time. Everyone has a role on our team to help us grow. Everyone is getting what they need. That's win time!
All right. Awesome. And then we just have on here, just to finish up to some other things that we're celebrating and continuing to grow through at Ben Franklin. So we have the Ben Way, which is believe in yourself, encourage others, never stop learning. That's like our school motto and values, and we talk about it every single day. And then continuing to build on success, and while also celebrating the journey that is continuous growth, and making sure that we are bringing our best selves to the daily efforts that are going to compound over time, and understand that sustainable growth and change and all of those things are the result of many years of effort, and not just one amazing day, but compounding those efforts over time. So wanted to make sure that we had some time to celebrate that as well. Sawyer and Hope, do you have anything you want to share that you haven't already shared in our video? Anything that you want to talk about school? Or any questions that our board would have for
Anybody have any
us
questions,
or our
comments?
students?
Matsu, please.
The tier
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3,
Mhm.
are they based upon basically the students, which level of reading they are, and
So, yes, so tier one would be like universal, everyone gets that. And so, and then tier two would be depending on a specific student need, if it's somewhere within literacy, let's say they need, they have a specific need around like oral reading fluency. So how well can they do a cold read where they are unfamiliar with the text, but they can read and how many, words per minute, that kind of thing. So that would be, might qualify them for what would be considered like a tier two intervention, which then they receive additional support during the week, during WIN or during small groups. Then we have like progress monitoring to make sure that we're tracking and demonstrating growth in that specific area that we're attempting to work through. If we don't see that growth, then we also then have tier three interventions in which we would have the interventionist working with that student. We'd have tier two interventions occurring. And then like I said before, tier one is everyone's getting that during the whole group instruction time. So yeah, depending on the student and their level of need, there may be anywhere from 1 to 5 days per week where they're either working on very intentional specific skills, or they are working more and maybe it's independent work, that kind of stuff during those responsive times.
And as those tiers increase, the amount of time in the days per week that they're working with someone also increases. So those students that are at that tier 3 level, most of them are working daily one-on-one with that interventionist to make sure that they're getting those areas that are not showing enough growth.
Do they have to be special ed for tier 3?
No, tier 3 is not special ed.
It's not special. Thank you.
And again, we're constantly looking at student data and making decisions and being responsive to their needs. So they may be in tier 2 for a little bit, still getting universal, we're seeing growth. They're right back into just receiving universal and stuff, but we're always that, especially during our small group time, is another flexible time where targeted needs are being met. So lots of opportunities throughout the day.
And that's all grade levels?
All grade levels.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 30 plus 30
Yes.
Yep.
every day.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and are the parents, for example, if you assess a student who's in tier 1 and needs to go to tier 2 for additional help, are the parents communicated about that?
They are,
Mhm.
yeah. There's communication and that they're provided with, and we try our best to always update parents as to how their students are performing, both in celebrations and in areas where we're seeing some concerns, and making sure that home to school connection occurs regularly.
One of the reasons why we picked NextPath, remember we talked about that, is it has an automation where when a plan goes in there, the parents are notified electronically. Not that it's only electronic, but that was one of the selling points of NextPath when Act 20 came in.
And are the parents given any resources to work with the kid at home so that they can
Yes,
collaborate with the teachers and facilitate the process of improving on the?
yes.
So I know like the tier 3 intervention, like for literacy, for example, those students go home with a little, they call it their reading bag, but there are books that they're rereading to their parents. There's like cut up sentences they may have to put together. So they have like 3 little tasks that they do at home that are a repeat of what they did in their intervention. And then the parents have a little, it's not really a reading log, but it's a space where they can jot a note like, this, they did really well with this today, or they really struggled with this, and that's a way that I know that at least at our building that intervention is keeping that communication open, and then also wrapping that around with home and school.
Thank you. Actually, it's a very important work because literacy is one of the biggest focus as a district which we are doing, and I think thank you for that. Great opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, thank you very much. We'd, picture, please. Mary, front and center.
Let's go.
She said,
Used to be my email address, but now it's. Okay. Is it in our family before? Nice. What did you used to do? Oh, I don't know. Mine is the same one. It used to be my email address, password. And then.
Thank you very much for coming and for helping us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
And now that it's Ace first year. I don't have to type it in every single time.
She said if you made them, they're exactly the same. It's your mom.
All right, thank you. Friends of Franklin recognition, Sarah Wheeler, Mrs. Yank, Mrs. Sapersky, please. Oh, sorry. Sarah, you wanna?
Well, I don't know, do we usually have them come up?
I don't know.
All right.
It's just easy, it's just.
Sarah, do you wanna come and sit down? Please.
Oh, yeah, come on up, we all want to see you,
Understand.
Sarah.
Yeah. All right, there are a few puns in here, so forgive me, see if you can count them all. Sarah has contributed immeasurably to the music programs at the high school in so many ways for so many years. It is a daunting task to try and capture all of the things she has done to support and care for the staff and students since her oldest son Gabe was a freshman in the band, but we will give it our best rim shot. Sarah was instrumental in procuring the incredible trailer that hauls the equipment to each marching band performance. She spent countless hours working with an out-of-state company to have the trailer constructed and transported here, and even more time fundraising to pay for it. That is truly a part of her legacy to be treasured long into the future. I don't know if I'll make the two. Sarah was a member of UMPS, which is the United Music Parents Group, for many years, and co-president for several more. Her knowledge of that group, its policies, finances, and practices was invaluable. Sarah volunteers at every marching band invitational, coordinating shout-outs, raffles, and wherever she is needed. And her marching band meals are the stuff of legend, especially her macaroni and cheese and walking tacos. Of note, she is actually putting a guide together on how to feed the band for the person taking over. She also runs concessions at the craft fairs, as well as the pancake breakfasts, rain or shine, during band camp. She met with district administrators to advocate for music instructors and classes, and is a staunch and vocal supporter of music programming at all levels. Through it all, Sarah's effervescent personality, unwavering love of band kids, and dedication to music events and programming in Franklin make her an exemplary parent, volunteer, and community member. She truly epitomizes what it means to be a friend of Franklin, and we are proud to call her our friend. Thank you, Sarah, for all you have done and continue to do for our young musicians and educators. I made it.
Sarah, you only have 20 minutes to speak.
Oh. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you for everything you do. We appreciate it.
I appreciate the recognition. Thank you to Ann and Mary and Kelly and Tara and Jenny and all the band parents. We do it all together.
All right, I think Mary's got a plaque for you and maybe a picture.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll get an action offhand.
Ooh, an action photo.
Do you want to do it at the?
Yes.
We can
Okay,
do
with the
it
better
in front of
background.
the- First, I have to get it.
She's a green.
No.
Okay.
I think her oldest, or her youngest is graduating, so I think
She's on King's School 4 years and she's still.
well, man, Mary's on, Mary's kid's been out for years.
Yeah, right.
Volunteers, yeah.
Daryl, do you wanna
Congratulations,
stand up?
Sarah.
You got it.
Thank you. We'll move on to Franklin Noon Lions Club, which we have 7 members here tonight. Danielle Kenny, Dennis Fonz, Mike Barber, Dan Crass, Beverly Garvis, Grace Matranga, and Cheryl Sworka, sorry. So the Noon Lions Club of Franklin visit our elementary schools with some special offerings for classrooms this year. The Noon Lions reached out earlier this year asking for teachers to submit under $100 grants for items for their classrooms, and those were fulfilled by the club. Thank you to our community partners for this great show of appreciation and affection for our educators and classrooms. Thanks for making Franklin a better place to live, a better place to work, and part of a better community. The best community, in my opinion, is through the schools. Thank you for sharing with our learning community. Say something. Please. Please.
Gotta put these up because I'm old. This should only take about 45 minutes.
Right.
Okay, I surprise many people when I tell them that there are 3 Lions clubs in Franklin. The Franklin Lions Club, the Franklin Lioness Lions, and the Franklin Noon Lions. Although we all work independently, we have the same goal, and that is to help people. Our club is focused on veterans, community, and kids. They say kids are our future, and we want to help give them the best chance that we can. We have several programs that do just that. We offer scholarships. We've been doing that forever, but for the last 8 years, we focused on trade schools because there's just not anything out there for 2-year programs. 3 years ago, we've added an additional $500 to those students if they carry on their second year. So we try to help as much as we can. We sponsor the Franklin Little League Challenger Division, which is the special needs children. We participate in Franklin's Night Out, Trunk or Treat, and we help out at the Franklin PD Bike Rodeo. We've donated to Children's Hospital to purchase a flow cytometer to help fight childhood cancer. For 9 years now, we've been offering to pay for Kids First Glasses, and that's the name of the program, Kids First Glasses. We will pay for any Franklin grade school student's first pair of glasses. My favorite is Kids in Classrooms, which you just discussed. For the last 6 years, we tried to provide to the teachers and administrators items that the school board just cannot supply to the 5 grade schools and Kids Club. We bought them stickers, alternative seating, chalk, books, sports entertainment, fidget toys, board games, carpet, just the whole gamut. So we enjoy reading the thank you notes and seeing the pictures we receive from the teachers and students. We are very honored to receive this award for doing in our own way what you all do every day. That is to help students and be there for them. Thank you again. Where there's a need, there's a lion.
Thank you all, and I hope you all come up for a photo.
That's a lot of people.
Short people are fried.
I thought it was really good.
Come on. I get the little this is yeah, I've heard an explanation once.
Down that way a little bit. Maybe deep in history. Oh, look, and they're even lined up by height. That's a well-organized picture, folks. You guys look great.
They've done this. They're like
Thank you so much.
professionals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay.
All right, we'll move on to community comment. We have veteran commenters, so I'm just gonna tell you, please, 3 minutes. And I know that you'll follow that. Jennifer Shipley, please.
Mary was already on her way.
Oh, Mary was already on her way?
Mary's
Well,
just stretching her legs.
I'm sure.
She's very good. You can listen to her. Good evening. Jennifer Shipley, 5341 West Harvard Drive. I just have a brief comment to make this evening regarding open enrollment, and I am going to read so that I do it concisely and make sure I don't miss all of my thoughts. The School District of Franklin is a very desirable district in southeastern Wisconsin. That is one of the reasons I moved to Franklin over 20 years ago. It is one of the reasons that many families move into our city. However, many of our families and taxpayers work hard and make sacrifices specifically to be able to live in this district for their families. Please remember, as you are considering how many open enrollment seats to add, it needs to be done methodically and not arbitrarily. Please remember that these seats are not just numbers on a piece of paper and not just numbers for a budget. They are students and they are families that use the resources largely funded from the taxpayers of Franklin. I challenge you to make sure that we are not opening space just to fill seats or just to increase our revenue number or just to make space in our schools because it's desirable space. Open enrollment is not an obligation to our surrounding communities. The open enrollment number should not be treated as just 5 more students per grade. It's not just 20 more bodies in the building. And those numbers are specifically referring to some of the high school numbers that were discussed last meeting. But it's 20 more students and 20 more families above and beyond the already increased proposal. It's potentially 20 more students in the lunchroom every day. It's potentially 20 more students in the hallways during every passing period. It's potentially 20 more students for our teachers and supervisory staff that may already feel overloaded with the numbers we currently have with construction happening and due to having different needs from past years requiring more of them than what we used to. Additional students aren't just going to take seats in classes or activities that have excess space today. They are also going to be vying for spots on athletic teams, classes that have enrollment caps because of popularity, and resources that all of our students need to grow and thrive. Please make sure that there is a balance in maximizing our potential budget with maximizing the experience for the students and families that reside in this district. Thank you for your consideration, and thank you for always making the tough decisions that our community needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Mary,
Can I come?
please.
Mary Karolevich, 8208 West Coventry Drive. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm glad that you're all here on this very cold night, and I'll tell you, it was very cold on the playground today. I just wanted to address the WASB resolutions. There are quite a few that could be very impactful. It's been several years since I've been to an assembly, and I don't know who the delegate is this year, but I just wanted to touch on a couple that, and I'm just going to say I would like to support or not support. The first one that they had was the removal of enrollment caps. Please maintain the 10% cap on the parental choice program. I think that it needs to, the program is spreading, and there is outside forces working on every state, but I don't want to see a state-funded two-system program. And right now, that's what we're heading towards. So I would like to maintain that 10% cap. I also read about the revisions to the school district report card process. And the only thing I was a little bit concerned about was they wanted to give extra credit to districts who had extracurricular programs or dual enrollment or AP things. And, you know, some districts can't really afford any of that stuff. And I'm not sure that it's fair or equitable to give credit for a district like Kettle Moraine or even Franklin that can support things like that, whereas some of the districts up north, they're barely hanging on. So I don't know whether the district opposed it, but I would oppose that. Another one I do support is having the DVR collaborate with our transition programs. I think that that's very valuable because those students, as they grow into adulthood, will need the extra support, and so the vocational rehabilitation program might be something that they can use to help them thrive. The, under the amendment to the early childhood education funding, I would like to see that all public funded entities have the same accountability and the same reporting and transparencies that are required of us as a public school district. And lastly, I do oppose decoupling. I don't know what your discussions have been amongst you, but I'm afraid, again, with outside forces imposing their influence, I don't want to see the state decide that they are going to allow private and charter schools or give them a funding stream that would be some sufficient versus us who are under some certain requirements. I don't think that's fair or equitable. And whether that means decoupling with some type of an amendment, which I don't think you can do anymore, saying that, I wouldn't support decoupling. And I know you will all discuss this, and I know you all know a lot more about it than I do because you're involved in this more than I, but I know it's been difficult losing students to the private schools. But if we can somehow show, like Mr. Cromie has been doing in his budget his budget presentation, that we are losing this much money to kids who go to charter schools, if we can continue to do that, I think that would be great. But if we decouple, we aren't going to know what they're getting, really. And who's going to attend a budget session for the legislature to talk about that? I don't think there would be enough people that would be aware of it, especially since Wisconsin I no longer has funding to follow all the meetings at the in the legislative chambers anymore. They've shut down. So right now, unless you are a reporter and can get in there, there's no way you're going to know about it. And will they get the report out to every single citizen of the state? No. So I don't know what Mr. Cromie has recommended or what you all have just talked about, but this is a tough issue, and there are a lot of resolutions this time that are very important and impactful. So I'm glad I'm not going to be the assembly delegate, but I'm sure you'll have a thoughtful discussion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, please.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I didn't get my card in. I got here a little bit late. My name's Kelly Walker. I have 2 elementary school kiddos. I think many of us in the community are watching what's happening in some of our neighboring states, elsewhere in Wisconsin, with like pounding hearts in terms of immigration. And I guess my request to you is to be aware that something like that could happen here in Milwaukee. Now, I don't think Franklin is going to be folks' first start, but I hope that that the administration and the board can get out ahead of that to think about what would happen if there were some sort of ICE enforcement coming into Franklin or any of our neighboring districts. I know my 8-year-old is nervous about his best pal at school who comes from a Spanish-speaking family. I'm worried about our beloved 4K aide who walks the kiddos to the bus every day, right? And so, like I said, hopefully nothing like that will ever come to our doorstep, but I would urge the board to support the administration in at least having a plan should anything like that happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let's move on to item 7, the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Witkowski, seconded by Mrs. Sapersky. I think, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. School board calendar, there is a key communicators meeting Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 at Forest Park Middle School at 5. There's a Board of Education meeting Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and February 18th, 2026 at the ECC at 6, and a school board workshop Wednesday, March 4th, 2026 at the ECC at 6. And district administrator update, Dr. Moe, please.
Thank you. Dr. Bennon will be here shortly. Maybe she'll even walk in, so I'll hand it off to her if she does. So I'm reading these words that she prepared to read. Our wellness clinic ribbon cutting is Monday. I think you have the invitation at your spot at noon. That's also a PD day for us, so we'll be letting all our teachers come over and see the wellness clinic as a part of their professional development day. The actual ribbon cutting is for all our district staff, leaders, and board members to come and see the wellness clinic. Staff and their dependents can begin making appointments on February 9th. So that's coming. That scheduling starts on February 2nd. In addition to the January 19th, the clinic is offering another open house event Tuesday, January 20th from 3 to 5:15 for all staff or all family members on the health plan. So for teachers, obviously, we'll be there on Monday, but there's another event on Tuesday. Our patient advocate through the clinic is lined up to visit each school, so she'll go to each staff meeting and talk with the schools during their meeting building time to share the work of the patient advocate and what she's going to do. So that's all happening. We're very excited. Again, I stated there's no school on January 19th for Professional Development Day, and then the following Monday, January 26th, is Records Day. You've probably seen that on the calendar, but that happens most January times. Also happening this Monday, as a part of our PD Day, we're hosting an all-district 4K family engagement event at the public library from 10 to 11:30. It is a no-school day for students, but it invites all our 4K families to explore the children's area at the library and develop love of literacy. In addition to current 4K families, it's open to all prospective 4K eligible families to come and meet teachers and collaborate with other families. There's going to be an opportunity for them to learn more about our 4K program and enroll on site. So if they want to come, so if you have neighbors, friends, family members with soon-to-be 4-year-olds, please pass that along. Last night was our 48th annual district spelling bee. Congrats to 5th grader, and she's from Pleasant View, so we've been celebrating because it's 5th through 8th grade, and we had a 5th grader that won in the 18th round. I think 18th round. So that's kind of exciting. No offense to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I'm never going to get to do this update again, but it was pretty exciting that this 5th grader beat out very, very much older kids, a 5th grader from Pleasant View. So congrats to 5th grader Akshara. Along with our other qualifiers, Sanvi, Akshira, Jameson, Austin, Kaylani, and Alice. That whole group will advance to the CISA 1 regional spelling bee. Congratulations to all the competitors. 18 rounds is a long time, so that's kind of exciting that she made it, and we are pretty proud of her. So Franklin High School AP School Honor Roll recognition. So we were just recently told or informed that the high school has been named to the College Board's AP School Honor Roll for last year, recognizing its outstanding efforts to expand access to AP courses and support students on the path to college success. This honor reflects the school-wide commitment of teachers, counselors, administrators, students, and families to building a strong college-going culture. So we're very proud of that. Upcoming performances at the Saber Center. Just a reminder that you all as board members receive 2 complimentary tickets to any show. If you're interested in attending any of the shows I'm about to talk about, please reach out to Tracy Stewart. Friday, January 16th at 7:00 p.m. is the Zaniac. That's part of the Saber Center series. Saturday, January 17th at 7 p.m., the Middle School Drama Club is presenting It's a Madhouse. Friday, January 30th through Sunday, February 1st, Forte Theater has Shrek the Musical Jr. So that is coming up at the Saber Center. Community education and rec updates. The CERC reopened on January 5th in their new building with the winter-spring program guide with strong community response, including a very highly attended fitness class. They had 30-plus participants per session, and our Diverse Grounds Coffee is now serving from the CERC building Tuesday morning. They just added a half an hour onto their service to catch a class that's exiting, so they're getting the people as they leave, so they'll now be there 8 to 10:30 versus 8 to 10. They have a steady crowd. We go there all the time and we're used to it, but it was really interesting and fun to see. I don't want to say that we're not real customers, but people that have done it with them for a year, non-district customers. It was really, really good. There's comfy chairs in there now and the fireplace. So if you want a feel-good moment, stop by. It's my feel-good of the week. Pickleball has shifted to a flexible $5 drop-in format, increasing access while keeping courts busy. Growing rental inquiries and new partnership discussions with the City Health Department signal that we are expanding opportunities for senior programs and community events. So happy to report pickleball. I can try to answer questions or I can jot them down and ask if they're Annalise specific, but I can answer most of these questions.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Could I have the time at the library, please?
For 4K,
Yes, please.
Monday, 10 to 11, hold on. 10 to 11:30. So this coming Monday, 10 o'clock to 11:30. Just an FYI, if you see non-4K people there, we also have 2 of our Gear Up sessions going to meet at the library. So you might see larger groups of teachers there. They're not secretly at the 4K event, but Jill Polglaze is also taking a group of teachers over to do connections to their resources. So you'll see 2 groups of teachers over there too for PD Day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on, we'll, does anybody have board liaison reports? Well, that's a hard word today. Or school,
I went
please,
to,
Mary.
I went to, Ben Franklin, during the holiday season, they had the Masked Singer, and I should have sent you guys pictures. Mr. Hine was in one of these blow-up Santa, it's like a big Santa, and then there were like 4 teachers who danced around and the kid in costumes that you couldn't see them. I don't know if you're familiar with the Masked Singer, I don't watch it, but you can't see who they are. So the kids were just like over the moon with just these teachers coming out there and dancing. And then I went the next week and they had karaoke. So Mr. Hine played the guitar and they sang some holiday tunes with karaoke. So that was fun. And then I went to the spelling bee yesterday. So that was fun. Pungent was the winning word.
Oh, really?
Just so you know.
I didn't know that.
The one that she got back on to be able to compete was dolefully.
Yes.
Nice.
Dole.
Yeah.
D-O-L-E.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Anybody else for school and community engagement reports?
I was just gonna mention Diverse Grounds. I stopped there last week and it was fun to see the kids in this new environment. And then also the community members, the circle was hopping that Tuesday morning with classes and pickleball and stuff. It was the place to be in Franklin on Tuesday morning. So go get your coffee.
Yes, I was there as well. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to reports, presentations, and other board business. Review and discussion of WASB proposed resolutions. I am the delegate this year, and I'm also on the Policy and Resolutions Committee. So I've said at some of those meetings, we can start with talking about any of the proposed resolutions. That if anybody has strong feelings about any of them, I don't think we need to go through them one by one, but maybe we do.
I was interested in the bylaw change that was like before the resolutions. Anybody see that? I'm trying to pull it up here.
Oh, it's at the end of the table of contents.
What number is it? There's no number?
Hold on, there's a bylaw change. Where can I find it? Shoot. Basically, it was about some districts wanting to like sort of be part of WASB, but not be part of WASB. And it felt to me like it was very much like they kind of want their cake and eat it too. And it felt very politically motivated. And it seems to be like if you are going to be part of the WASB, you should just be part of WASB and not get to pick and choose what you agree with or support. And I'm sorry, I can't find it here in this agenda packet.
If If we discussed that in our last meeting, I don't remember it at all. But
It might have been, you know what, I might have found it on the WASB website before I had this packet.
I don't remember seeing it in the packet.
Maybe it was one of those other regional meetings where you talked about?
No, I think it actually was maybe online before we had the packet. But anyway, if that comes up, maybe think about that. But I feel like, I don't know, if anybody has any other thoughts or you want to look at it and tell Mike before Tuesday next week.
yeah, I mean, I think the delegate assembly is the only place that people would be able to vote on. People would be able to vote on things like that. I don't disagree with you. I think you should, that's your opportunity to vote and you're a member or you're not.
Yeah. I wish I could remember it to explain it better, but it very much felt like some districts wanted their cake and eat it too, and it just kind of turned me off. But I wish I could find it.
Please, Angie.
Wonder, all of these are the types of resolutions that are submitted by individual school boards, and they always just seem to be relatively poorly written and needing a lot of amendments from the WASB staff. And so I always have a hard time getting behind them for that reason, just based on all of the suggested amendments from staff. Not that that's a reason we should for or against them, but can you comment at all, since you've been in the committee, are the ones that have all this suggested language change, is that because they're fixing errors in it, or why do they pop up with so many suggestions?
So I don't know exactly, but I can tell you, and I know what you're saying. I can tell you that I don't know that they're necessarily, I don't think they're poorly written. I think that when the group is meeting, there are different, it's all for lobbying, right? So, so we decide, the policy committee decides whether they're going to go to the floor of the delegate assembly based on 3 criteria.
Okay.
And so those criteria are if it's important enough to discuss for the larger group, if they're timely, and something else I don't have right in front of me.
If they're
that
not
I'm
already
looking
in
for.
the book of,
Thank you, Linda.
I also did that
Yeah,
once.
they're not, yeah,
Did
Linda
that
was in
process
that
once.
committee
It
as
was-
well. And
That's the part where it gets technical, why they do the amendments, because they don't want to duplicate something that's already, and it's quite a book of positions they've already taken over the years.
yeah, it's 100 years of positions
Yes.
or 25 years of positions, so they get
They
rid of others. Yeah, they don't want to duplicate things. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's,
Are there any, I felt like there were a couple within here that were diametrically opposed. Like if we can, so can you help us sort of like identify those so that we can determine a position we're gonna take?
yeah, so there is one that's diametrically opposed, and it's number 10 and number 11, the decoupling, or not decoupling.
Okay.
So, so basically, at this point, decoupling is not what's happening. So that's why decoupling is the first, is Amendment 10 and not Amendment 11. So if Amendment 10 passes, which asks for decoupling, Amendment 11 will not be voted on.
Got it.
If Amendment 10 does not pass, then we will vote on Amendment 11, and it won't necessarily pass either, and that would leave
Sort of neutral.
neutral ground.
All right, well, I do not support 11. I do not support supporting decoupling. So I support 11.
You support
not
11
10.
and not 10.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I just
Linda,
want a
please.
clarification on what, the way I understand these vouchers are funded by, because it's an add-on to the levy, and I want Mr. Cromie to comment on this.
Please.
It's outside the limit, so in effect, it is a sum sufficient funding source on the taxpayers, is it not? Because we fund that.
Decoupling would make it a,
But right now,
State.
that's how it works, right?
Correct, yes.
We are in fact some sufficient funding source for the voucher program. Whoever chooses to go voucher comes back to the place where they reside and it gets put on the levy.
correct.
So it is sufficient where it is right now. And it's on the levy, so we're funding it.
Yes.
I guess, and I understand why they go at it as decoupling, when really we should just, and then if you give it its own funding source, then it looks like a split system. It's like
And there
there's
would
no
be
way to
no-
win on this one, really, it's,
So if it was a split system, we would have no way to monitor or know
well, the state would.
what the
hopefully.
other, what,
You don't have a way to do that now.
Do you have a position on it?
If you just decouple without anything coming back to public school, that's just gonna erode us.
Right.
So there has to be a pretty substantial impact to public education. But that's not in the motion,
No.
so
So trying to fix something, but this is not the fix.
this is not the fix.
Either of them are not the fix.
Correct.
But 11 at least is saying, keep it how it
Keep it
is
how it
until you
is.
have an actual solution.
Yes.
Right. That's what seems like the better plan to me, is to keep it how it is, and maybe somebody will come up with a better system. They
Well, I
haven't
guess
yet,
it goes
but-
back to whether you really want a voucher system.
Well, but we're
I mean,
not
that's
taking
a-
a position on that's not the position statement, though.
I wonder if they have one.
Arguing on a voucher system is a mute argument, like that's not changing.
Right.
Because that has been wanted for a long time, it's been rolling for a long period of time, it's never you're not pushing the genie back in the bottle. So figuring out how to cap it or smooth the cap, slow it down, like, that's the best position you have any chance of catching any ground on, is doing that. But decoupling alone, again, will catastrophic to some districts, certainly severe to everybody in terms of funding, because all that funding to cover the property tax will need to come from somewhere. And that's gonna come from what potentially goes into public education to fill that bucket.
can you play devil's advocate just to say what decoupling benefits would be? I mean, it sounds like we're all of one mind, but I just want to make sure I'm kind of understanding the whole.
Yeah,
gamut.
it'd probably take estimated $2 million off our property tax levy, and then everybody's levy throughout the state that has that component to it. So property taxes would go down in support of that. Public education funding would stay flat at best, and voucher funding from the state would go up.
Okay.
Trading off, I mean, it's a balance, right? It's either property tax or state, but the state would take the bulk of that from property tax relief.
Thanks.
Is there a consensus around that?
No, I think I agree with most of the board members who have expressed. I think at least 11 will keep us maybe status quo or give us more time, because there's definitely more of a push to more and more voucher funding and charter funding and private schools, but to safeguard, hopefully we can keep working with our legislators down the road and somehow.
Does decoupling send us toward a cliff? I mean,
Us personally?
Not us personally.
Like Franklin Public Schools?
Yeah, our levy goes down. Yes, I mean, us.
If there was a straight decoupling, funding Fund 10 and Fund 27 would be pretty hard in the upcoming year, would be my guess, just because there would be no funds coming in. We would be trying to do tomorrow's things on today's dollar, which would be really hard to do.
Okay. So I think, it sounds like there's consensus around 10 and 11. Does anybody have any discussion, please?
I didn't love number 2 for a different reason than Mary mentioned. Number 2 is the one about school district report cards. And basically my reason for not loving this one is it's a complicated enough system that is frankly shrouded in mystery So the idea that a 3 bullet point suggestion from a couple school districts is going to actually work, I just find it hard to believe. So I didn't like the idea of, I wasn't convinced that student growth and achievement being valued equally would necessarily measure what they intend to measure. They didn't present reasons for why they wanted to make the changes they did, other than it just seems more fair. But maybe I'm misreading it, and I'm happy to be corrected.
My question on that one was, you know, if we know how these changes would impact Franklin specifically, but my initial reaction to reading it was like, oh my gosh, don't we just already change the school report cards every year anyway? So like why are we adding something new to how we may or may not change them?
Well,
Why are you laughing at me?
one of the biggest
Change them every year.
one of the biggest discussion points with it's number 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the biggest discussion points with number 2 was adding a financial component, which I'm not sure what the financial component would be, but certainly us being, for instance, we are a Moody's AA1 rated. That's certainly good for us. Maybe that's taken into account. Maybe that's in the discussion for, hey, are we a better district because we are good stewards of funds for our taxpayers. And I don't know if it wouldn't necessarily be graded on that, but is there a way to grade districts on how well they do with their taxpayers' money?
Who measures that?
That seems hard to.
I look at the report card, it's really about students, and this fiscal stuff is not student focused.
Doesn't feel equitable.
So again, I think
I agree with you, it's kind of muddling and.
I agree. I mean, in theory, like, if you really wanted to save dollars, put like 50 kids in a classroom and say, we're saving dollars because the report card has this component. Like, is that a great educational choice? Obviously not. Like, that's a terrible choice, right? But could we do that so that we score higher in that financial component and say, yeah, we're really nailing it there? But, so I agree with, like, what's happening on that side. Like, I don't even know how you measure it. Like, what's to say? Because every community is a little bit different, and the needs are going to be different in terms of the community. So I don't even know how you'd measure it, for one. What's the validity of the measure, and what are you measuring it against? Because somehow you'd have to calculate community into that in order to have it make any sort of sense, in my opinion. So
And what are you what is this raw number from the report card supposed to best represent? And I actually agree with Linda. I think it's supposed to represent how are our kids doing. So I don't like this number 2 very much.
I would agree with that. Is there consensus around?
I'm in agreement with that.
All right, and please.
The number 5, it's about substance abuse aid. I was wondering if is that simply to give money only for like programs around substance abuse, or were there other mental health pieces to that?
It read like it was just for substance use and abuse.
Yeah, it sounds like it's an add-on.
It just felt
And
very
add on-
specific to me, like because like if you're gonna add that type of funding, maybe one district needs more like a general mental health aid versus specifically a substance abuse. And, like it just didn't feel like if there was specific money only for substance abuse, that might not be, I don't know, I guess I felt like maybe it might be better to keep it more general than be so specific, because some districts may or may not have the same problems with that.
I think it takes away from local, I think it takes away from local control.
Right.
And frankly, I think this is one of those resolutions that even if it's passed it goes nowhere in the legislature. I mean.
Right.
Yes.
I second that.
Okay. Number 7 then was about, in my notes here, I just have feed the children.
Universal free lunch.
Universal free lunch.
Maybe different. WSB has never ruled on that before or discussed universal?
I think it's been proposed and it hasn't passed.
Yeah, I think it's,
Oh.
I think it's being proposed again because of the,
But you
because of questions with what might happen at the federal level,
Mhm.
which is why it made it to a vote, which is why it made it onto the,
Why it's considered timely.
why it's considered timely. But I don't think it's one of those things that's, I think it's another one of those things that's not gonna make it to the legislature or through the legislature.
Even if the legislature is gonna say no, I think we should feed our children. So that's my thought. Feed the children.
I think we are, aren't we? We have a school lunch program.
We have a school lunch program.
Yeah. It's not about whether
You're
we
in
feed 'em or
favor
not.
of making
It's
it
who's
free
paying
for
for
all.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
Yeah, obviously there's food here every day, but make it free for all students.
And that's, I'm sure that's why it got a little bit controversial. Who's paying for it is always the harder question.
Yep.
Yes.
I think the state could probably do that. Anybody else have other?
I would
comments?
agree with with the universal covered meals for a variety of reasons. I think last year they had something about the childcare, and people were saying that it was gonna take money away from just regular childcare businesses. So I was really trying to scrutinize that, and I'm not quite sure what the implications are, but it was a pretty heated discussion.
Is there another one about childcare, Mary?
Yeah, number 9.
It's 4K and which one was it?
Number 9.
Number 9.
Okay. I'm not sure I completely grasp exactly what it was proposing, other than it said same accountability, reporting, and transparency for voucher funding as well as public school, which I don't know why it isn't that way.
It's essentially putting 4K on an equal footing as any sort of daycare program, preschool program, not public education, because they are getting state funding. So essentially saying they should be held to the same requirements that our 4K programs are held to if they're going to do that, if they're going to receive state dollars to do that. So that's essentially what that one is in general about. And there's been lots of talk over the last couple of years about providing additional money to daycare facilities to make daycare more affordable. But again, that's going to erode dollars coming to public education. Actually, I was gonna bring this up during the budget, but this is a perfect time to bring it up, and it relates directly to the free meals for students that, like, just talked about. Franklin Public Schools is a microcosm of a massive budget, right? We have a pot of money, and it doesn't matter what we do with it, but the pot of money is the pot of money, and it doesn't change. State funding is exactly the same. They have a pot of money, so every time you take a slice out to do something else, it's gotta come from somewhere. So, that program, if we provide, or if the state provides more dollars to a non-public education daycare facility, that's coming from somewhere. It's coming from us, not just Franklin Public Schools, but from public education. If we provide free meals to every student, and actually I'm for that, so don't take this the wrong way, but if the state does do that, that's coming from somewhere. That's coming from general education or special education dollars to public education, and trading those dollars for free lunch or breakfast or whatever program. So again, it's the pot of money is the pot of money. How it's diced up is how it's diced up, but every time a new slice comes in, it's coming from something that already exists, and either taking that and making it smaller or removing it entirely and saying we're just not funding that anymore. So like all the decisions are weighed against that philosophy, right? And Our budget is no different. Our pot of money is our pot of money. We'll talk about it. It's our pot of money, and we can dice it up however we want, but every time we add something new or put something new in, something's either getting cut or something's shrinking in terms of how we're funding that amount.
I think in my opinion, you know, with the state giving more funds to childcare, daycare programs, in my opinion, I think the public schools do a better job with providing not only, you know, a learning opportunity for the kids at such a learning early age, but I think the best environment for the kids to kind of, you know, get ahead. So it doesn't make sense for the state to giving, of course, when you want to decrease the child care for the families needed, but at the same time, I think it's money better invested in 4K full day program as compared to the daycares, which are, you know, I don't think they'll provide the same platform as a 4K program will provide. 4K program is more structural, you know, licensed teachers, and I think there's more bang for the buck. So it makes more sense that the state might be giving, if anything, more funding for the 4K rather than the.
Yeah, I think we should continue to push for, if you're going to fund these, if they're going to be funded, we'd like them to have the same requirements as we have.
And that's what 9 basically says,
Yes.
so.
All right, does anybody have?
It's gonna be a fun delegate assembly, I think, Mike.
It's gonna be a fun night for you, Mike. Going back real quick to my bylaw thing, I did, thanks to Debbie who found it, and then I was able to find it. I sent you all a link just now, an email, if you want to look at what that, the bylaw changes. The quick like snippet they have is that the proposed amendment would in essence create a second tier of membership for the WASB called limited active members. That would allow boards to opt out of advocacy representation by the WASB and funding of advocacy representation by the WASB while retaining access to other membership benefits. And then this piece here says this is simplified. You can click on the link for more information. But anyway, that's why I said it. Kind of just felt like they wanted their cake and eat it too for being part of the WASB. And that seems like you're either in it or you're not. That'd be my thought.
And it's not on the proposed resolution?
Yeah, why does that exist in
It's
this
bylaws. It says,
super secret closet?
it says like it doesn't always come up. Like it's not every year do they have a bylaw change request, but this year they had a request to change the bylaws for the WASB.
Yeah, I don't support that. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we literally did not talk about that at the policy committee, so that's,
So they're trying to sneak it in the back. Anyhow, I did send a link so you guys can read it when
No,
we're
I
not
got it.
here on company time, but.
thank you. And I did send an email to everybody. There is an emergency resolution.
It was a very worrisome subject line.
Yeah, emergency.
I know, when you said emergency, I like
Sorry,
stopped what I
did
was doing. I'm like,
Did I say,
emergency.
does it just say emergency
No,
on
it
the
says
subject
emergency
line?
resolution, but yeah.
Oh, got it.
It was one of those when I saw it on my watch, I'm like, stop
Oh,
what
wow.
I'm doing. What
Sorry.
does Mike need?
I hope it wasn't CPR.
I was not doing CPR all the time, no. Thanks, though, for that vote of confidence that you think I would.
There's an emergency resolution asking for the special education funding to go from some certain to some sufficient, basically, so that the state budget had 42% for special education, then 45% next year. It's paid out at about 35% this year. And that happened after the deadline to create a resolution, which is why there's an emergency resolution. So the committee will vote on that on Tuesday night, whether to bring it to the assembly floor. And
I feel like that already exists in our
Right.
in the lobbying. Like, I feel like the WASB every year asks for some sufficient reimbursement
Yeah, I
for
think
special
that'd
education.
Be in their book of.
So I have a feeling it won't come to us because I think it already
Yeah,
exists
it's
in the,
already in the book of
but yes,
positions that we would
that
support.
position.
Yeah,
Why
Fair
would we
enough.
not support that position? I don't know why we wouldn't.
Great, then we have direction on that as well. All right, anybody else? All right. Thank you. I have my marching orders, and I will be there both Tuesday night and Wednesday. We will move on to open enrollment seats. Mr. Cromie, please.
So we talked about this at our last board meeting in December. The only update that came out of that meeting was to move our 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade enrollment cap to 395. So that added 5 seats at 9th, 10th, 11th. 12th grade has 411 projected, so that would already exceed the 395. So it added 15 more seats for a grand total of 478. Everything else remained the same, 4K through 8.
All right, does anybody have any questions on open enrollment? Linda, please.
I just think this is too much of a jump to take. I don't see we don't need to be this dramatic. I think that also, based on how you calculated this, part of this increase is associated with changing the cap that you have in place. And at the elementary level, it looks like you've increased the cap by 137. And that, to me, I know we haven't changed our class sizes, but it's got to mean that there's more kids in every classroom because we're not adding teachers. And I just don't think that's the direction we want to go. So I would suggest we back that off. I don't know, 140? I recognize that this number of, I think you're up to what, what's the number?
478.
478, and we currently have how many?
Open enrollment students?
Yes.
Yeah, 410-ish.
410, so it's dramatic, and I understand we're not gonna get all those, and I've seen your budget proposal at 78. But I just don't think we wanna do that. It doesn't, it's not, I don't think that's what our community is looking for in terms of, or our teachers in terms of pushing that cap. And that's what you're doing, that's what you have to do in order to make this math work, is push that cap, which means there will be more students in those classrooms with the teachers compared to what they had the prior year.
Just for clarity, we do not have a cap at 4K through 5. That is all number of classrooms driven. So that is calculated on a formula based on number of classrooms, maximum amount of students per classroom, back that down to 90%, and we go from there. So it's not a cap. Like middle school is a cap because there's no definitive way to do that or at the high school because it's a little bit different where elementary you are with teacher A and teacher B and teacher C. Middle school, high school, a little bit more fluid. So we have a cap there by total grade level versus by individual teacher. So just a clarity portion on 4K through 5.
You're saying but there is a cap, you're comparing it to a maximum number, whether it's different than it was the prior year, significantly.
4K through 5 is based on number of classrooms that we have in those grade levels.
Well, you've changed the number from last year. I don't know, do we add more classrooms? I don't know how you got more.
We take a look at how many classrooms we have today. We project moving forward. So essentially moving forward. So if there's 3 classrooms in 3rd grade today, we would say 3 classrooms in 3rd grade. Or
Then how
4th
does the number
grade
go
tomorrow.
up? How does the number change from one year to the next?
Didn't the
So
formula
we
just-
take a look at enrollment in August, right? And then we have to sometimes adjust. Sometimes we need an extra teacher. Sometimes we say we're staying at 2, even though we projected 3. And then that's the new base, is actual classrooms that we have. It's not adding students to it. It's possible if we have more resident students added that we have to adjust a classroom. But we won't fill grade levels, or we won't fill specific classrooms to force a new teacher to be done. That would be all done through resident enrollment.
Didn't the formula just go from 85% capacity
To
to
90.
90% capacity?
Yep.
That's the
That's the
reason
change,
that that's the reason that the change
Yep.
is, but not full
And
capacity, 90%
We have
capacity.
many classrooms that sit well below the 90 right now today.
90% capacity.
Okay, so that does mean there'll be more kids in that classroom with that teacher. Bottom
Potentially.
line, there'll be more kids in that classroom with that teacher than there are now.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Right, but we
Well,
might
that's
be
what you're
talking going
assuming.
from 16 to 18. We're not talking going from 24 to 26.
well, we have a cap on, I mean, we have policy on that, but this proposal, if it were to, it's possible, you're hoping for 450 more students in our classrooms than we had the year before. That's what this open enrollment,
I would say we are not hoping for more than 450. We're putting a formula-based process to this. This is what the formula generates, this particular process.
and the formula changed from the prior year.
Yes, from 85 to 90% in 4K through 5, and then by 5 students in the middle school, and now 10 students in the high school.
Okay, so, again, I will not support the 450, whatever the 400 number.
473.
I will not support that.
473?
And, because I think it does add, it's,
478.
it sends a message that we're trying to get, you know, we'll have more kids in front of, each classroom, there'll be more kids in each classroom than we currently have. It also, I'm not sure what the narrative is. You know, if you're sitting in the audience and you saw that we approved 100 forever, and now we're gonna come in with 450, how do you explain that to someone who's sitting in the audience that it was 100 last year and it's gonna be 450 this year? Overnight, we're gonna be.
Offhand, I
open
don't know what
enrollment
the
up
number
to
was last
450
year, but it was
students.
more than 100.
I think the narrative is our enrollment went down significantly last year.
And we're filling it with non-res students.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think that's what the community really wants to see, us inviting more students in. And that's my opinion, and we don't have to discuss any further, but that is my position. I will not be supporting the 400 plus whatever you are proposing.
Ann, please, did you have something?
I was just gonna say,
It was more than that last year.
yeah, and we won't get 400 students in. How many students?
If you were asking me where I'm pushing my chips to the table, no, we're not. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible, but based on looking where historical applications have come in,
And as you
we're
just
not
said, we're not pushing classrooms to 30 students per classroom. This could bring, 18 kids in a class up to 20 kids in a class
right?
or something.
Last
that
year, I
way.
think we only had about 270 applications in total, in general. This just happens to be where the seats are available.
And these are classes that already have teachers hired or, that are in the classroom. We're not
Correct.
creating new classrooms and hiring new teachers or new staff or whatever else.
Correct.
In the high school, the numbers are, we've had 400 roughly, give or take 1 or 2, graduate every year for the last 4 years or something.
For pretty consistent.
And we
period of time.
have, I don't know how many this year, and then 411 next year, and then it goes down significantly. And that's why we're raising the number at the high school. Is that?
Yeah, in talking, this is really comes in some conversations that we've had over the past few years with Mr. Bolo and taking a look at where the capacity sits. If you probably don't remember exactly all the details behind the MD Roffers graph, but if you remember, the high school lived in that yellow line represents 80% capacity from a building standpoint. So there's plenty of room. Our addition coming on is gonna add room to that, right? So even with the same number of kids, we're going below that 80% number now, just because the size is bigger, more spaces for kids to go out. But, so we certainly have capacity. We have teacher capacity there as well. Yep, we're gonna run into some of the issues that Ms. Shipley said, that, yep, some classes are gonna be filled because lots of people want those, and we only have a certain number of teachers and things like that in a specific area. But the one piece I would add about open enrollment right now generates roughly $3 to $3.5 million of our budget, net of our budget. And so it is a big component. It's one of our top 4, right? We think about all those things related to Third Friday account, which is property tax and state aid, categorical aid, and open enrollment. Those account for 93.5% to 94% of our budget, and they have for a period of years. So it is a large component to think about. Again, would 478 people if we get 478 applications, I will be floored that we have that many applications. We haven't even bridged close to that. And again, specifically when we're talking elementary, really the greatest idea ever would be we start filling at the elementary, and we're not needing seats at the high school and eventually not needing seats at the middle school because our classes are getting right-sized earlier on. And we're moving up, and then we're sustaining a regular size, whatever we consider regular, say 400 at some point, but a 400 student high school class, and we're maintaining that. But we're building that, and we're having kids longer than coming in ninth grade, because this is the first time we've had well, I guess we had 10th grade seats last year, but the first time we've had ninth grade seats in a while. But ideally, we want kids for the long haul, right? We want you coming in 4K and spending your entire 13-year educational career with us, because we think that's what's best. So the earlier we can get kids in, the more ingrained they come in all of the things that we're doing and just become a part of it. Having been a teacher, I can tell you, walking down the hallway, I had no idea who was open enrollment and who was not. When I was a teacher, you were just my student. That was that, like that. That was the end of it. And our teachers think exactly the same way. They don't know, there's no designation on a backpack or a pin. They're just a student in your class, and they're a kid that you take care of.
All right, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion's made by Mrs. Sapersky, seconded by Mrs. Yank to approve 478 open enrollment seats in general education for 26-27 school year with 2 cross-categorical seats and 4 seats for physical therapy seats in special education. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I
No.
Opposed.
We know.
I'm a no.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries 5-2. All right, preliminary budget, Mr. Cromie, please.
So let me pop this up here. I think it'll show up. All right, let's increase size though, because I can barely read it on my computer screen, so I have no doubt you can't read it there. You all have the budget attachment. You can see the same format that I've used for the last few years. Again, kind of going back to the very first time this would have been presented to you, which would have been January of '23. That budget model is built for the way my brain processes budget today, and thinking big picture bucket over the course of the next few months. At some point, that becomes much more granular and takes a look at how the budget's presented for the annual meeting and the final budget. But right now, it's bucket, because it's so, there are so many things that are variable at this particular point. So I'm just gonna go through the variable components to make sure you understand all the things that went into making today's budget, as we see it. So our resident population is projected to reduce by 137 students, or FTEs. Our 3-year rolling average, therefore, reducing by 132. So revenue limits calculated on a 3-year rolling average to provide some smoothing for districts. So if you're crashing, it gives you some leeway to figure out where those expenses are coming from. We're estimating our open enrollment to increase by 72. That's based on the numbers that we have that were used tonight, 72. The state budget already has an additional $928 per open enrollment student. So that's moving up to roughly $11,000 per open enrollment student. So we're already plus about 300. This would move us ideally somewhere around plus 370. Revenue limit increase of $300 or $325 per resident student. That dates all the way back to the 23-25 biennium, and is really in place for the next 300 years. Adding a 3% sped reimbursement increase. It is supposed to go from 42% to 45%. We all know that that's not trending at that right now. So that, I didn't budget it at 45%, but I am budgeting off of where I estimated will be for this year, and then budgeting from that amount. So right now they're funding at 35%. They're shorting that because they want to make sure they get everybody whole, not to the 42%, just so you're aware, but that they're able to fund what they think everybody should be by June, which they estimate to be somewhere between 37 and 39%. So then we're taking that 3% off of that.
Can you remind me what their reimbursement rate was last year?
Yeah, it was supposed to be 33. It ended up being like 30.9 or something
Okay,
like
so
that.
we have seen some increase.
For sure, there's increase. It's just not what they said it was going to be.
Quick question at 325. What % increase does that represent?
Oh gosh.
I'm not gonna hold you to the right
Yeah,
decimal,
2.7% maybe,
2.7?
maybe. So our amount last year was somewhere around like 11,700, so $300 on 11,700. I know it's less than 3%, so I'm kind of estimating at 2.7 maybe.
Okay.
Our interest earning revenue, we're gonna put back down to $600,000. The 95, so this year we're budgeting $695,875. That $95,875 is in direct relation to, you'll see a white bus. Up there, the white bus does not meet the requirements of a yellow school bus. We can haul more passengers. It looks just like a bus, except it's white. We can haul more passengers in it. It does not require a CDL. It cannot be used for regular routes is really the different. Like, we couldn't use it every day to go pick up kids and run a route with it. That's really the difference. But can golf team take it? Yeah. Can we go pick up 4K kids with it? You bet. Can we do X, Y, and Z with it? Yeah. And any one of us can drive it. So if a driver happens to be sick, any one of us can pop into it and drive it. So.
What does it have to do with the interest?
So last year, we were estimating $600,000. We knew we were going to make more than $600,000, but we've talked about this for the past few years as well. If we start banking on that, interest is already crashing this particular year quite a bit from where we really anticipated it to be. If we start building that actual anticipation, and now when it's reducing, we're having to figure out not only the normal problems, but we're having to figure out that net as well. So we've been budgeting short on interest for the past few years. Last year, because we wanted this white bus to help our overall transportation needs, we knew we could fund it with additional interest dollars of the $95,875. So we just added that as interest to that straight expense for the bus. So that was just a dollar for dollar addition.
So you're saying you want to allocate that to one-time expenditures that make it easy to adjust to the
Yeah,
next
we
year.
did it the year before too with a yellow bus. That was 100-some thousand.
What
so
about
we
the
went up to
purple bus
700.
coming up next year?
Yeah, it has
What's
to
that?
be a
What
bus
about
of
the
a certain
purple bus
color.
next year? Is there
I
gonna be?
don't know. If the state comes up with something else you can do, we're gonna take a look
That
at it.
seemed to be a theme.
Okay,
Oh.
no more buses.
So those are our revenues. So again, if you take a look at our entire line item in the budget, there's like 2,500 or 3,000 lines in there. Roughly 200 of those are revenue, everything else is expense. There's not a ton of revenue levers to pull. From an expense standpoint, the budget that you saw, or that's attached, represents 2.7% increase for all employee groups except professional educators. That is 3.2%. Just yesterday, the WERC, the Wisconsin Employment Relations Committee, certified at 2.63, so I'll make that adjustment from 2.7, so 2.63 and 3.13, but sticking with that 0.5. So right now, we're still working with that. The additional 0.5 for our professional educators is really to help smooth out those first three slices of their movement. So if you can recall, our new compensation model that's been in place now for 2 years, and this will be our upcoming third year, has a master's degree, a years of service movement, or a median adjustment. So those are the first three slices out of their total allotment of dollars. So that 0.5 is designed to help smooth that out, so we're getting more teachers or more of our professional educators closer to the CPI amount who aren't getting one of those other movements.
Can I ask what it means, adding 0.5 to all other employee groups? What does that mean?
I'm sorry, that should have been to just professional educators and not to all other employee groups. So it's just to professional educators. Health premium increase, right now, we are estimating 10%. We are right at the 100% mark. If you were to look at us for premiums collected to expenditures out the door. What's interesting though is I got it's called oh gosh, I'm gonna forget the name of the report, but it takes a look at your entire data, and our average spend per individual is going down. Our high cost claimants number is going like skyrocketing. And so a lot of in my opinion, and I haven't talked with our professionals about this, but in my opinion, like the levers we're pulling are starting to be the right levers. We're just seeing this higher increase in high cost, which is offsetting all of the things that we're doing. So now, like our task over the next few months is to figure out how are we affecting our high cost claimants, or what can we do to, obviously we have to provide the care, but how do we care navigate them better to help figure out our health plan in total.
When you say high cost, you mean above the
Well,
loss, whatever that?
yeah, our stop loss is 125 per individual, so what we're really talking about in terms of high costs is somewhere between that 50 to 125, because all of that falls on us. Anything over 125 falls to our stop loss carrier. But how do those people that are $50,000 alive, you have a $50,000 medical spend year, like you had something drastic happen to you. So, but how do we cover that group where that dollar still falls all on us? And how do we figure out, is there anything we can do there? So maybe it's, I didn't want to provide a response here on what we can do, because we need to talk to the experts. Our healthcare consultant may possibly change. So we are currently with Brown & Brown. If you followed any healthcare news, they were taken over pretty heavily by a different group in December. And so many groups, public schools, communities, and other businesses that are with them were affected. We're one of those people that are affected, meaning our consultant team changed very rapidly, unbeknownst to us. So we're meeting with some other individuals. We're not RFPing, so I'm gonna let you know that. We are meeting with targeted individuals who are really smart in the healthcare mind and who think about it differently. We've reached out to them. We're meeting with them next week. That'd be Laura and I, to determine what's our path from a consultant standpoint, and then we start to go back to the drawing board on this and figure it all out. But in any case, we're estimating 10% to try to stay flat. That's not even, in my mind, putting any dollars into a health savings account, but like 10% is still a lot. You will notice that there's a couple of bullets below this. We had a pretty big jump in healthcare deductible last year, as you recall. Like that was a pretty hefty discussion we had. So right now, the way I have built the budget is the district will absorb the entire 10% increase on premium. We will not pass that on to staff as it's currently built. So right now, we're 95 district, 5% staff. That takes it down to like 4.78 or something like that. So then we'd be 95.22. Just one second so I can finish this thought. If we shift that, if we stay at 95.5, yes, it would add about $33,400 back to the budget. But again, we're in a prediction standpoint right now, right? Everything is very fluid. I've built it like this because I think this is the most conservative expense estimate we can have, is us absorbing the entire cost of health. If like we get down to the nitty gritty and there's no way we can do that, yeah, we'll probably look at the 95.5 again. But we're, again, trying to build low on revenues, build high on expenses at this point, and be conservative revenues, be conservative expenses. And then as we get closer to actual data, then that starts to fill in some of the gaps for us. Yes, Linda?
I guess why would you put that in here now, 95.5? Because, or why would you propose that change here as an assumption? It's not that significant, and it's a policy change. Why are we considering doing that?
So I'd be cautious on the word policy, because it's not policy.
Okay, I understand we did increase the deductible last year, but they saved significantly on the premium side. So it's not like there wasn't a positive there for them. So I don't understand why already you're putting this on the table. Why immediately now?
So first I want to clarify, there is no policy around 95.5. We do not have a policy on it.
You're right, it's not in the book, but
it's
it's
a process. Why? I think I just explained that. I'm trying to be as conservative as possible on expenses and as conservative as possible on revenues for where we are today, because there are so many unknowns. So part of it is trying to figure it out.
Our employees, what you're thinking though, and it's something you haven't even talked to the board about, and you're putting it out here as a budget thing.
I guess I'd rather they know what I'm thinking than not.
I guess I don't want to see that in this initial round, a change in what we've done. Because that's coming to the board, right? We're going to have to approve that change.
So would you like the salary increases off then, I guess?
You showed nothing to us, so it should stay the same until you propose something to the board.
So should we take salary increases off then?
To what?
Should we take salary increases off?
No, I'm just saying
But that's also an estimate.
Don't do the 95.5 thing.
But that's also an estimate of 2.7, so I would be showing my cards again. I just want clarity where you want it and where you don't want it.
On the insurance, no change on the insurance.
Only on insurance.
I disagree. I think it's fine.
I think it's fine at the assumption stage, certainly. That's what I think. Anyway.
I feel, I mean, I think what you've said, this is a working document. All these numbers are
Massively
fluid.
working.
So, I mean, this is just kind of an initial, this is kind of what we're thinking, and as all these new numbers come in, it solidifies through the year, and then we approve it months from now.
There's only two solid things on this entire document that you're looking at. Open enrollment will go up $928 per student. We will get $325 additional dollars per resident student. Everything else on here is an assumption. Everything.
Everything here is a budget. A budget is planning. There are no certainties in budgeting, it's planning.
Correct.
So
We are
we're not
planning.
waiting for certainty, we're waiting for your best plan. That's what we're waiting to hear.
100%. And at this point in time, like, I don't have enough health data to say 10% is even gonna work. It's possible that's 15. It's possible it's 5.
You picked 10, okay.
Correct, you're right, correct.
And
So
I'm
what
all
I'm
on
saying,
the-
Linda, is everything is so fluid today that, like, hanging our hats on it and debating every considerable component of it is truthfully a waste of time. This is presenting a picture of where we are for planning purposes as we start getting further into planning for the 26-27 school year.
So I think that this has been helpful in that when we do have our healthcare discussion, it signals that there might be some discussion about relative district share will be a point of conversation that the board should have.
100%.
So valuable thing came out of this. Let's go.
A couple of other pieces on here. We're estimating a slight open enrollment out reduction. So we have a very large 12th grade out class going out this year. We have not seen classes as large as them come in the last 4 or 5 years. So we're anticipating, again, that shrinking. Voucher program, I'm sticking with the steady 20% increase. We've been pretty close to 20% for the last 4 or 5 years, so I'm just sticking at that 20% growth. Again, that's dollar in, dollar out, though. We get that additional dollar in the revenue limit on property tax, and we get an expense that matches it dollar for dollar. But from our purposes, from a tax levy, we want to make sure that's aware of. We're estimating a 14% property liability insurance increase, and workers' comp should really fall under that. Two things are happening there. One, property insurance has gone up 5 to 7% every year of the last 5 years. That is really not necessarily our insurance being affected personally, but the catastrophic events happening throughout the United States that are being funded through insurance are being passed on to everybody. So that's a component of it. The second component is we've had 3 really successful workers' comp years. So at some point, we're going to see the blip up. So right now, I'm just preparing for the blip. So we haven't had it yet this year, but again, I'm being conservative on that estimate and I'm preparing for it. We will go out for a property liability workers' comp insurance review. For your knowledge, workers' comp, regardless of who you go with, is the exact same cost. It is state regulated, it is state proposed, so it's number of people times the rate that they provide you. It's where can you get the best dividend, which is essentially, did you perform well enough? We'll give you this many dollars back. So that's really where we look for workers' comp is what's the dividend. But property and liability insurance is just like if you went out for your homeowners and car insurance, like you're gonna get different rates based on whatever people choose. So we'll take a look at that. We're moving our district health clinic obviously to being funded 12 months. So this year we were projecting 6 months. We are 1 month behind. Our initial clinician backed out the day before they were to start, and we went to the drawing board again, hired somebody that we think is fantastic. But again, they have a certain number of days that they have to clear before they can come. So that's pushing us to February 9th. Part of our healthcare at 2% too is we're gonna be a full month, almost a month and a half behind on having any clinic data to offset health as well. So I don't know how much of that will truthfully be able to carry into the 26, 27 number. But certainly we'll have a way better chance than a 27, 28 with the amount. 2.7% transportation increase with Right Way, so that'll back down to 2.63, but we are contractually obligated to follow CPI with Right Way. 2.7% capital improvement budget increase, so we're just following CPI. So anywhere you see that 2.7 will back down to 2.63. Building budgets right now are based on estimated enrollment. If we have a drastic enrollment change in any particular building, we'll take a look, but if you look at that building budget line item, that's just following enrollment and punching it into the calculator for dollars per student, and this is what it kicks out. Department budgets right now are being processed as flat. We are reducing in total $360,000, but what we're doing right now is we're just pulling out those Fund 46 transfers that we've had in a couple of our departments, in technology specifically and teaching and learning, so a curriculum and some technology-based additional amounts. And we're just gonna say, we're not gonna fund those this year, but all the things you have to do, we're gonna do. So if you recall, some of those were providing some long-term savings for those groups, so when we have a large curriculum purchase, it's not all being absorbed in our operational dollars, some of it is being pulled from a savings account. So all I did was pull that out because right now we're sitting $1 million in the red, or $1,048,000 in the red. Some additional notes, you'll see student fees coming up. That'll come up at second board meeting in February, so we're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna do some evaluation. We're actually gonna propose a cycle with that as well. Certainly our new staff hire salaries, hourly rates, benefits, all of those things for all new employees that will happen over the course of the next 6 to 7 months leading up to the next school year will be evaluated. Utility costs will continue to be evaluated. Andy Daniels does a great job with that. One of the things that I do want to remind us though is we're gonna have a pretty large addition to the high school. So even if we can figure out how do we save in general on it, we're gonna add a whole bunch of more space that we're now gonna have to heat and cool and do all those things with. So if we can actually find some savings, I would be flabbergasted. It'd be super great if we can somehow figure out how do we remain flat or have a slight increase to it, knowing we're adding a lot of space. And then if there's any better place to work recommendations, we'll certainly evaluate those and consider those as we go throughout the year. But again, we are $1,048,000 in the red. For purposes of review, last year we were at 1.15, and the year before we were at 1.2 at this point in time. So we do have a lot of things that are, again, predicted right now. And again, predicting low on our revenues, predicting high on our expenses. And that's really designed right now so that we don't get too comfortable and decide to throw something in that we don't know if we can afford. And so you have an idea of some of the things we're gonna take a look at throughout the spring and into summer. Our very preliminary, I wanna make this sure, very preliminary tax impact of $42,990,000 is roughly 1.4 more than last year. $970,000 of that is directly related to our $325 per student. And what I should have added is roughly another $300,000 of that is directly related to voucher. So 1.27 of that is related to things that we have no control over. The additional would just be, it's actually a slight reduction in Fund 80 recreation and a slight increase in Fund 39 debt service is really what the net is. I'm using a 2.5% property value. We have not been anywhere close to 2.5% in any of the last bunch of years, but again, working on that conservative value. Mill rate at this point estimated to be 7.89, but I would certainly assume that that's going to be lower than it was last year. Yes.
So it's my standard question at this point, if you're unable to dig out of the red by virtue of things coming to fruition, where would you cut? And on the other hand, if you end up with more money in your bucket, where would you fund?
Yep, so certainly our largest, salaries and benefits are always the largest piece. And so while that's not the popular answer, that's certainly gonna have to be looked at in what are we going to be doing with that particular bucket? Because at $1 million, something big has to come, and that's our biggest bucket. So we would certainly look there first. Second place we would probably look is capital improvements, and are we able to shift some extra dollars to Fund 46 to make sure we're still doing what we need to do, but can we pull some extra dollars out of Fund 46 to cover? A lot of that's gonna be like, what is some of the budget talk coming out of Madison for next year? Like thinking 26, 27, or sorry, 27, 29 biennium, and like what is even being kibitzed about? To think about that. But those would be the biggest pieces. What would we do if we had extra? I guess it's really gonna depend on how much. Obviously, if we just squeak over, we're doing nothing. We're gonna cover something extra in capital improvements or find some one-time purchase that we can do. If we had a pretty significant increase, which I mean, again, if I'm pushing my chips to the table, we're not getting there. We would probably take a look at, is there something we can do with health? Because that was a big nugget last year that had a lot of angst. Or is there something we do with salary? We leave health alone as something we do with salaries. At this point, like, it's too early to say like where I would push my chips on that particular table. But certainly those would be considered too, because if we have a lot, then we gotta figure out how do we use it towards a bigger bucket too.
I think at this point, it's all sort of about philosophy and general priorities, and so that answers that question. So.
Yeah, our priorities are certainly how do we fund our staffing increase and how do we help maintain benefits, so.
Thank you.
Linda, please.
On the health clinic, I hope we don't need to wait for actual data, given the fact that we are working with experts and this is not a new model. It's everywhere. We don't need actual data in order to figure in some impact with that health clinic. That's what I'm just saying.
I would
like-
agree.
I would expect
Yeah.
to see something there and not just, we don't have any data, we can't do anything. Since this is a model that's been around and you base it on some impact, I would like to see something in this budget that reflects that.
100% we'll be able to probably do something with that from a health standpoint. But again, even though the law of averages tell you we should do this and X, Y, and Z and all the experts do that, it's possible it opens on February 9th and no one walks in the door. Like it's possible on February 9th, it is full. Like every slot is full. So we want to make sure that we are projecting where we're projecting before we decide to do anything with that. So for me personally, again, on that conservative standpoint, I want to open the doors and figure out, are we on the track that they say we're on the track of before we decide we're gonna put some eggs in that basket. So being on the hyper-conservative side, like, nope, right now it's not open, we just know we're paying for it for 12 months, let's get it open, and then we'll start working on that particular component. But again, that's where our healthcare experts will come in, I don't know if we'll have new consultants, but our new consultant team for sure will have, regardless of where we stay, is gonna come in, they're gonna help us coordinate all of those components of health and put that into, this is our new rate, and this is what's gonna need to fund your health plan.
All right, anyone else? Thank you. We will move on to the audit report. Please, Mr. Conley.
Awesome. So we have Amber Tigert here today. I'll offer her to come up from Kerber Rose. Amber worked as one of the auditors on our program, and she is going to walk you through. Just as a note, there is a change in the approval process this year. This is coming really as part of our Neola piece. It's not approving the audit, it's approving review of the audit. So just so that you are aware, and Amber, just let me know when I need to change screens here.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for allowing me to come present today. As Andy had mentioned, my name is Amber Tigert and I am an audit manager. Oh, do I need to turn it on or is it already on?
I think you're just a little far from it.
Yes, it's on. Is this better?
No.
Do I need to be red?
I don't know. Maybe grab the one next to you and we'll see what happens here.
Oh, I already, oh, that's way too loud. Sorry. All right, so as I was saying, as Andy said, my name is Amber Tigert. I'm an audit manager with Kerber Rose. I've been with the firm for about 5 years, and this year was actually the first opportunity I got to work with the district. And one of the reasons that I was very excited to work with the district is the rest of my team had always spoke very highly of the district and Andy and Michelle and the rest of the business department. So I'm looking forward to coming back in future years and continuing that relationship with them. But I just want to get into, we'll just do a very high-level overview of the audit. But if there's any questions, I think Andy attached the report in the management letter. If there are any questions, we can go into more detail. So the first slide, just the audit results. The premise of an audit, if some of you aren't very familiar, is to provide an opinion. So we come in, check the financials, and we want to provide an opinion on if the financials are accurately presented. So we had a clean, unmodified audit opinion this year, which is very typical. It's the highest level of assurance that we can provide as auditors. So in a school district sense, it's like getting an A+ on a report card. So doing really good on that end of things. The next thing I want to point out, I'm not going to go in chronological order, excuse me. I'm going to go to the internal control finding next, and then circle back to the second point there. The internal control finding for financial reporting, essentially what that is a finding that we as auditors have to express because the district isn't the ones preparing the financial reports, and us as the auditors are preparing that. At Kerber Rose, we work with about 60 school districts across the state, and I think we might have one school district that prepares their own financial statement. So it's a very common thing that we see. And it's just a cost benefit that it's just easier typically for the auditors to complete those. So you'll probably see this finding going forward, but nothing to be too concerned about. Andy and Michelle, they review the financials and make sure that they're in agreement with them. So nothing too much to be concerned about there. The next thing that I wanted to circle back to, and it will be a new thing that you see in the financial statements, is related to a compliance finding in relation to the federal single audit. So what a federal single audit is, since the district receives more than $750,000 in federal funding, us as auditors have to test those programs and make sure that the district is abiding by the different requirements set by the federal government. One program that we had to test this year was child nutrition. So that's like food service. One thing that we have found was a finding regarding eligibility in relation to the direct certification process. And I can go into more detail on this, but a high-level overview of this one was what happens is the district imports essentially all of the students to a DPI website, and DPI comes back with all of the direct certification. So what that means is students that are already enrolled in another like food service program, so if they're part of like SNAPS or Medicaid, it automatically brings in what program they're a part of. And what was happening is in the system that the school district uses, there wasn't a correct matching process. So there was some, and then ultimately when the district reported to DPI, they weren't recording the correct number of students that were eligible. When we came on site, to kind of go back, we came on site this summer. So this is as of 6/30/25, so we're 6 months past the year end now. But when we were on site, the team that works on this, they were already aware that the software for food service was having this issue. So they were already kind of implementing some changes. It just so happened that we had to test this program this year and kind of found it. So there's already implementations of changes going forward. So hopefully that this won't happen in the coming years. What this means from an audit perspective is going forward for at least the next 2 years, the district will be considered a high-risk auditee. What that really means is from an audit perspective, we just have to test more. It really has no impact on the district's financial position or anything like that. It's just going to be more documentation that we have to kind of go through. So, any questions on that before I move on? Yes.
Does it impact any funding that we took from the feds?
There is a potential that DPI can have, especially related to the child nutrition program, they might have, they might request that there be like a specific food service audit completed, and that's something that the state would take care of. That's a possibility, but there's no guarantee that that would happen.
We're not sending money back to the feds, though. There's no danger, no risk in that.
There is a part of the single audit. There is an aspect of it called question cost, and if there are identified amounts of money that we can clearly identify that were ineligible that the district received, we have to report them. But in this case, with this program and how it works, we don't have those.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we move on? All right. Like I said, I want to keep everything pretty high level. So there's a lot of words on this slide, but I'm not going to read it word for word. The key things that we want to take away from here is looking at the general fund unassigned fund balance. So the general fund makes up just the general operations of the districts plus special education. So when we look at the ending fund balance as of 6/30/25, the ending fund balance was at about $25.6 million. And what we like to compare this to and kind of see where they're at, where the district is at with this, is kind of comparing to see where they are in comparison to the expenditures. And why this is important is because this number essentially represents how much cash the district has available to pay upcoming bills. And with how districts worked and how the funding is structured, as Andy kind of alluded to earlier in the board meeting, a lot of the funding is tax levy dollars and state and federal funding. So that's not always going to come in at a consistent basis. So it's important to have a good reserve in that unassigned fund balance to kind of alleviate some of those inconsistent timing of the funding that they receive. So we typically like to see districts between the 25 to 35% margin when comparing to the unassigned fund balance to the current year expenditures. So if we take a look at the next slide, we kind of just put together a little chart to see, or to kind of show where the district has been over the course of the last 5 years in comparison to the current year expenditures, which is in the blue. So those will be the higher ones on the chart, and the black ones, which are the unassigned fund balance. So you can see over the past 5 years, really trending pretty consistent across the board, which is what we like to see. And then if we go to the next slide, this is going to analyze that ratio of the unassigned fund balance in comparison to the current year expenditures. As you can see, I know it's pretty small, but during 2025, at the end of 2025, we're at 38%. So the district has a very healthy unassigned fund balance to make those payments and have that healthy cash flow. The next slide. The next couple of slides, I just wanted to pinpoint some of the more important financial statements that you would see in the large statements. So the first one, again, I'm going to reference the general fund quite a bit. So the general fund, as I kind of alluded to, you see highlighted the unassigned fund balance there. Not too much else to add there because we just discussed most of that. The other fund that I wanted to touch on this statement is the other capital projects. In this fund, you'll see this is a big change from last year. The other capital projects has a restricted fund balance of $142 million. What that is related to is the referendum debt and the school projects that are going to be completed. I believe it's the high school and one other one. I can't quite remember.
Our various elementaries, but primarily the high school project.
Yeah, so this balance seems very high as of 6/30/25, but it will be spent down as those projects and expenditures get paid out. And then the next slide is looking at the revenues and expenses. And again, I know this is really small, but there is a copy of this same report. So a few things here. The referendum debt service, as I kind of alluded to, the district issued debt last fiscal year. So you'll notice a extra other financing source, which is the premium on the bonds. So that was an extra expenditure there, or excuse me. Yeah. And then in the debt service fund, one additional thing that the district did was they had a defeasance on debt. So what this means is that the district paid off debt early with available funds that they had. And this actually saved the district over $1 million by paying off this debt early. So it seems to be a little bit more increasingly common, but it's something that's very advantageous for the district to continue to do as the cost savings can be substantial. And then the other thing, the other capital project fund, as I kind of mentioned, that is where the proceeds for the debt went related to the referendum. And then the last thing I wanted to point out is that there is a transfer from the general fund to another capital project fund for $3.7 million. And what that other capital project fund is for capital projects. It's essentially banking money in a capital projects fund. So maybe in the future you don't have to go out for referendum for some capital projects. So we always like to see that you're kind of building some of those savings in that capital project fund. And then the next one we'll go to is the budget to actual. So you can we'll pay attention mainly to the net change in fund balance. If that doesn't sound very familiar, because this is governmental accounting, you can think of it as like your net income or your net loss. So originally the district had budgeted a slight deficit, but then with some amendments, the district was looking to almost break even with only a $1,500 difference between expenditures and revenues. How the district actually ended out in the general fund is the district actually made a little bit of money of $120,000, not much, but it's good to at least see that more money is coming in than is going out the door. We don't see this as my third board presentation of the week, and not many districts can say that they're even breaking even. So between some changes in state and federal funding, some of those things coming down, but expenditures staying high and people wanting increases in salaries, we just don't see this as much. So the district seems to be in very good and healthy financial condition.
Do you take questions now or later?
Yeah, I can take them as we go or later.
Okay, well, I have questions on the expenditures being more than the budget in many, and you actually have a schedule that it's on the next page that identifies those areas.
The expenditures being more than the budget?
Correct.
They are actually less than the budget.
I see total
They're,
expenditures are
okay,
400.
in some categories, yes, there might be, but overall, they would be less because
Total
we have.
expenditures are 489,000 below the budget. It's small numbers, but I think I'm reading that correctly.
It is, yes. I see what you're saying, yes. So the excuse me, the expenditures are $489,000 over the budget, but then in contrast, your revenues are 1.3 million above your budget as well.
Well, I guess I kind of want to know why. Why are the expenditures more than the budget?
I don't have all of that detail with me right now. That's something that I could circle back to and provide to Andy to provide to the rest of the board.
Because we're looking at our next budget, we kind of want to know
right
what happened last year.
Yes, yes.
So I know we depended upon interest, you mentioned that just before, but interest is not a very necessarily sustainable revenue source long-term. So it is a concern when we're using that to cover almost $500,000 worth of expenditures over what we had planned to spend.
Right.
So I would appreciate more information on that, especially as we're looking ahead to the next budget.
Yeah, we can absolutely provide some more additional detail to that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on that? Okay. And then the next slide here, one thing that we like to look at is the legal margin for new debt. So state statutes has that the district can have 10% of the equalized valuation of the district is what you can take out for general obligation debt. So this is just showing a little calculation of where the district is at. So the legal margin at the end of 2025 is about $335 million.
Amber, if I think about the expenditures on this particular page, we made a roughly $750,000 additional transfer out of Fund 46 than budgeted last year, I believe, which would account for the overage of roughly $480,000, $89,000. I think it's all related to our Fund 46 transfer at year end, which related to our revenues exceeding our total expenses. But because that transfer requires an expense out of Fund 10, it is listed as an expense in Fund 10 or revenue in Fund 46. We can't just move it to that bank account without having that official expense or revenue accounted for.
Well, which line would that be in? Which line?
It's in a non-program transaction.
That's 2/3 of the way down the page is total non-program transactions.
Yeah, so there are line items above in support services that are over. But in general, our overall, if you were to look at our overall expenses, is due to that Fund 46 transfer.
I don't see it. That's after the
That's at year end, after our audit is done at that point, or substantial completion, I should say, is done before we make that transfer.
What, again, where is it, which line is that in? Would there be like a $700,000 over expenditure somewhere if that's the amount that you're?
So does this have to do with going from one fiscal year to the next? Is that what you're?
Well, Fund 46 has to be transferred by July 30th, but it's recorded as of June 30th because it's considered year-end in the way that it's done, so it does cross over. If you wanted specific line item, like we could
Just
go through every
generally-
line item of the budget to come up with that, but in total, from estimated 56.4 to 56.9 is related to that Fund 46 transfer.
Is that part of the line, other financing source use, where you have transfer to other funds?
Yes, correct. Yes, thank
So that's
you.
854, but it's,
You can see our transfer to other funds is budgeted by $860,000 over anticipated budget. About 750,000 of that or so is related specifically to Fund 46.
but that's not above the line. That's happened afterwards when you saw that you had excess of revenue over expenditures of 852, then you made the transfer. I just am curious, I just want to know why you're $453,000 over. I just want generally, what were the areas?
Yeah.
Of school building administrative services is probably the largest one at 298,000. And the second largest one is other instruction. I mean, those two things, if you have some explanation, I'm good to go.
Yep, we'll have to run the specific detail on that. We've been out of 24, 25 for quite some time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go on, please.
Yeah, and then the legal margin on new debt was the last slide. So if there is any other questions, I can take those at this point.
Yeah, I have a question on page 5.
Of the audit report?
Yes.
Sure.
There is, you go to net position beginning of year, and then you have a change in accounting principle of 872,000.
Sure.
What is that about?
That is a great question. So with being in governmental accounting, the financial statements have to be in accordance with GASB. So that is a change in how GASB wanted governments to record compensated absences. So it's really just an estimate. And there is a footnote at the end of the report to kind of give a little bit more context to it.
What footnote was it? I couldn't figure out which footnote it was related to.
Let me scroll through here real quick. There should be a brief section in note 1, which note 1 is pretty lengthy. Typically, just as an overview, typically we don't go over the governmental statements because that's not how the district budgets. So sometimes we steer away from trying to present some of that information because a lot of it is estimates, and it's not. Again, you're very used to seeing the revenues and expenses and how you budget, and that's what's most crucial for the district. Sorry, I'm having a hard time finding what page it's on.
You can get back to me later on.
Sure. Actually, I just found it. On page 15 of the report, it talks about the implementation of GASB 101. So again, it's just related to...
Up at the top here.
15?
Yeah, page 15. So it's just related to the accrual of sick, vacation, PTO, those kind of things.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
I move that we acknowledge that the audit report was received.
Second. Is it received or reviewed?
Received. That's the change. All right, a motion was made by Dr. Beer, seconded by Mrs. Sapersky. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution providing for the sale of approximately $15,930,000 general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2026A. Mr. Cromie, please.
So I'll have Jeff Seeley from Ellers come up. Ellers is our financial advisor, specifically as it relates to our bonds and debt repayment. So part of our, it's at least semi-annually, we take a look at all debt obligations that we have. And, well, I should say, Ellers takes a look at all debt obligations that we have and determines if a refunding makes sense. So for our purposes, refunding is like refinancing your mortgage. A little bit different, when we refinance our mortgage, we refinance for a brand new set of years and we pay the same amount every month for that particular piece. When you refinance a bond, we pay bond principal one time a year. Typically, we always take it out for 20 years, but one time a year for 20 years. And each of those repayments is kind of like its own mortgage. It has its own interest rate, it has its own payment, it has its own call date. So what Ellers does is takes a look at all of our debt, takes a look at each one of those individually for all the debts we have, and says these ones make sense, these don't make sense, or none of it makes sense, we shouldn't do it right now. So essentially what you're seeing, this is all related to the middle school debt. That has been refunded already several years ago, before my time coming here. It's up for refunding right now. We plan to add about $825,000 of Fund 39 fund balance, so important to note that that is related to our debt service fund balance, to add to this. But altogether, we should see a savings of approximately $1.6 million, which is about $800,000 in interest on the debt itself, plus our $825,000 added to it. But again, that $800,000 is related right to monies we won't levy in future years related to interest. The principal is the principal, so that always has to be repaid like any debt has to. But we'd see a pretty significant interest savings, again, related to just this $15.5 million.
Jeff, please.
Anything to add, Jeff?
Yeah, so thank you. That was a nice overview. Appreciate being here tonight. So the particular bonds that you're refunding are the 2017A bonds. They have a call date of April 1, 2026. Call date is a date in which you can refund them using tax-exempt rates or bonds. So we're issuing new bonds, the 2026A bonds, to refinance the 2017A. And as Andy mentioned, we're estimating a reduced future debt service around $800,000 on this particular refunding. It's refunding the 2027 maturities or principal payments through 2035, so 9 years left on the original bonds, and the new bonds match that term. We don't extend it. It's not a restructuring. It's just a straight refunding for savings. And you'll have a call date on the new bonds of April 1, 2033. So there will be an opportunity. There won't be a whole lot left, so rates would have to be really low at that point in order to generate savings, but it's out there just in case. Moving that call date forward, you would pay the price this time because there's an accepted practice of having like 8 years before a call date. If you shorten that to try to preserve future savings, you might end up paying more and reducing your savings this time. So just so you know that 8 years is kind of an industry practice. We'll be doing a rating on this. You just went through that not even a year ago. You guys have an excellent rating, a AA1. We were just looking at that today, and there aren't anything that indicates that that would be an issue coming up, maintaining it. We'll do a competitive bid process on this and solicit bids. Any premium received will reduce the amount of bonds. And you guys do have $1 million that are going to go towards these bonds, so that's going to help pay off some of the bonds. It's kind of like the defeasance that we did, except we're rolling it all into the refunding, so it's all one transaction. Basically, it's about 15, scrolling through my numbers here, trying to get to the exact numbers. Oh, for timelines, you have a resolution, that's your initial resolution tonight. We will be taking care of the bond rating and so forth in the meantime. And then February 4th, we will take proposals that morning, bring the results to you that evening, and you'll award the sale of the bonds. They'll close, which is when the money is transferred to an escrow account for this refinancing on February 25th. And then the old bonds I mentioned have an April 1 call date. Those will be redeemed at that time. So in a nutshell, that's the finances of it. It's about $16 million that we anticipate issuing to cover this.
Linda, please.
I looked through your pre-sale report.
Yes.
I have a couple questions on that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I compare the prior original debt service schedule with the new debt service schedule, I see, first of all, that we have interest rates that are, nothing's over 4% is the highest.
Right.
The new issue's got 5%. So
Right.
how do we get the savings? Well, I guess I can answer some of that question. To me, the savings is probably more principal related than it is interest related.
So what happens is it's going to generate a large premium. So we're estimating that premium is going to be about $1.8 million.
A lot of money.
And the reason for the premium is, so if you think of it from an investor standpoint, if you invest money, if you buy bonds, and you're only getting, say, the market rate of 2.5%, well, there's many other options out there for your money. So you probably aren't interested in buying these bonds. But if we give you 5%, say we double it, and we offer it at a 5% interest.
Who's the we?
The underwriters, when they sell
Not the
this.
district.
Not the district.
You guys.
The underwriters. So they determine 5%, they can sell all these bonds easily. They have the market for it. So people are willing to pay a premium price. So if this bond costs me, if the face value is $1 at 2.5%, I might, or the underwriter might be charging $1.08 at 5%. And it's also tax exempt. So I get the benefit of not having to pay federal income tax on those earnings. That extra 8 cents on the dollar comes to you up front in the form of a premium. So it's generating $1.8 million for the district up front, even though the coupons, what the interest is accruing at, is higher than the old bonds.
So we're making it on the premium.
Yes.
Also, when I look at that schedule, the first one versus, the existing one versus the other, I notice there's no principal payment in 26 at all on the original. We didn't have a principal payment?
No, the prior debt is that's the callable amount. That's the schedule we're refunding. So the district will make their April 1, 2026 payments.
So
It starts
after that.
It's after that shows the debt that the escrow will be paying off during this refunding.
And you're saying, so this was the call date? It was callable on this date?
April 1, 26.
The whole issue was callable?
The 2027 principal payment and after.
And after?
Yep.
Then how come we have to do, we're not like paying it off though, we're just refinancing it? Typically, don't you have a call date so you can pay it off without any, you don't have a prepayment penalty because you have the call dates there, you can just.
Right, you don't have a penalty because the call date was established when the original bonds were issued. So this roughly 16 million that's going to be issued in the new bonds will go into an escrow account. And it'll sit there for a little over a month and then pay off all the old bonds, the 27 and beyond maturities. And then the district will assume the 27 beyond maturities for the new bonds.
To pay it off, we'd have to come up with the $15.9 million,
Yeah.
which you don't have. So essentially, we're refinancing in the same time frame to save
Okay,
a lot of
I
interest.
guess why wouldn't we left it alone since it had low interest rates?
Because it's generating eight
Because you
hundred
want the
some
$1 million.
thousand dollars of interest savings.
Mhm. It's reducing your debt service.
So we're taxing our taxpayers less.
We're taxing our taxpayers less
We will be, yes, by $800,000 over the life of this.
over the life of it, of the 9 years.
Still
which
less.
is how much per
Still less
year?
than today.
I'm sorry, what?
Still less than today.
I guess I wasn't expecting to see, we keep churning this debt. Is there gonna be another defeasance or whatever, something next year? When are we gonna stabilize? We got a pretty stable debt repayment schedule. When are we gonna kinda,
I guess if we can generate savings, I will always bring that to the district. I will always bring that to the board.
okay, well.
Yeah, and that's the key.
It's not free. I mean, it's not free either. I mean, this cost $142,000 to issue this stuff.
It does,
All
but
part of our
that's,
premium process. It's all part of the premium that's being paid. It's not costing
I
the
guess
district
I
any
wanna hear
additional
him
money.
talk. Okay,
I'm trying to put it in as easy terms as we can.
and Andy's correct. It's all baked into the savings and everything. So if you can save money, an amount, okay, if it's generating 20 grand in savings, it may not be worth your effort, okay? But if it's generating 800,000 and that's net of all costs, then it makes sense to do. And, same as when we look at the defeasances and so forth.
right, and there's net present value. This is $574,000, better than we've seen before. They're pretty
Yeah.
low at previous.
But as we spoke about before, net present value is kind of an arbitrary number because the 800 is actually the reduction in taxes, so it's a tangible number. Once we sell it, if it turns out exactly like this, where the net present value is what amount of money at the ARB rate that these are listed at would be equal to 800,000 in the future.
Right, but as a taxpayer, if I'm saving money 9 years from now, I'm paying it off with definitely different value dollars than I'm paying now.
But
So
it's
there is
not,
some
it's actually,
validity.
there's no new money going to the taxpayer. It's reducing the property tax levy that we will put on the taxpayers.
Is it part of that budget presentation I just saw from you?
Is our new debt cert? No, because you have to approve that. So right now, we're not. We're not baking that into the cake. We certainly will in our property tax levy when we have to if we approve it. But
So
again, conservative
We just
on,
saved another $100,000 off of that $1 million deficit we were looking at?
I don't want to put a dollar amount to it. So
This is
the life of
conservative.
this will be $800,000. Whether that equates to $100,000 per year, I don't know. Like, we'll
Okay, all right.
take a look at it.
So I'm expecting some kind of reduction in debt service next year as a result of this. And you did say you evaluate this because you don't take everything. So what are some of your parameters and when you say no go, not worth it?
Twice a year, we run the numbers, and if something looks close, we'll monitor it even more often.
$1 million in premium or?
I'm sorry, what?
What are some of your parameters?
Parameters is the market. What are bonds selling at? And we basically take recent sales and what the market's at, plug it into your scenario. So in this case, refunding the 2017 because you have a call date coming up. So we know that's coming up and we can do it. So we take the market rates, plug it in and say, this thing's generating some savings. Or there are times we'll look at it and say, it's a no-go. We just wouldn't recommend it at this point.
And you do this twice a year.
Twice a year.
All right.
It would be like looking at what are the mortgage rates currently now for whatever years you want and saying, this is what I'm currently paying, this is what it is, does it make sense for me to refinance? Yes, sometimes.
Does anybody
No,
have further
sometimes.
questions?
No.
I move to approve the resolution providing for the sale of approximately 15.93 million general obligation refunding bond series 2026A.
I have a question at process. This is the first read of this agenda item. We require it to be on the agenda twice.
Yeah, you're right. It's not listed as something for approval on this one.
No, it is actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
It wasn't,
Andy, does it need to be approved tonight because of time that we have to
Does it?
go to market? Is
if
that
you're
what
going to
the
market
case
in
is on
February,
this?
right?
Because it's time sensitive.
And you aren't actually awarding the sale of the bonds, the issuance of bonds, till your next meeting. This, and in fact, this resolution is not even a legal requirement, but Most districts choose to do it as a first reading, if you will, to bring it to the board roughly a month before they're actually awarding the sale. So they treat it, this resolution, as a first reading, and they have the board actually act on the resolution, even though it is not a legal requirement that you act on it. But it's recommended.
I'm more comfortable with it that way. Does,
We have a process, though.
there's a motion on the floor.
That,
I'll second.
I'll second the motion.
Did you-
Mary
did-
just did.
Did you second, Linda? No.
no, I did not second,
Mary
because
did.
it
Mary did.
violates our process. We can't take action on this if it's the first read.
Well,
I think
I think he
we've,
just
we've,
explained why we would do it in this situation, and that this is not, he explained his reasons why.
Are we gonna,
And
well, don't we need to
the
take action?
motion-
We're gonna approve this as an exception to our process.
but we have done that
motion
before
was-
with other things when they have
The
been
motion was
time
made by
sensitive.
Dr. Beer, seconded by Mrs. Yank. Is there any further discussion?
Could we amend that to say, as an exception to our process of requiring two reads?
We could say in a timely
The
manner.
process is best practice to do a second read. If the board at the table right now is agreeing to take action, then
Given.
then you can take action at this moment.
And we have before, when something comes up and it needs a more timely response, we haven't always had the second read. Because
I
of the
think though,
calendar.
if the agenda, if the public is reading our agenda, they're not seeing, they're not getting the correct information. They're not expecting it to be approved at this time. So I think the motion should probably say something about it's an exception in terms of the.
What would you like your amendment to, what would you asked for amendment? What would you like your amendment to say?
Could we have you actually wrote that on the,
You move to
The
approve.
the motion is on.
Can I
up on
amend
there.
my motion? I move to, acknowledging that it is a variance from our standard practice, I move to approve the resolution providing for the sale of approximately 15.93 million general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2026A.
second? Or do you already second it? Somebody else?
No.
No, motion was,
amended it.
motion was made by Dr. Beer, seconded by Mrs. Witkowski. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Board policies, property and technology, 7,000s, and operations, 8,000s. Mrs. Sapersky, please.
We have come to the end of our policy journey.
Oh, my God. God bless
Well,
you all.
And I just wanted to, I just thought as I was going through things, I would show just, for a visual. This is the total amount of policies that we've gone through over the last few months, and it's been a lot of fun. This is our last grouping of them. I'm sure you all read them. We didn't have any major adjustments to any of them, so I'm just looking, I will actually make the motion to preliminarily approve the property and technology 7,000s and 8,000s operations of the new policy manual.
Second.
All right, motion was made by Mrs. Sapersky, seconded by Dr. Beer. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The treasurer's report is available in the board docs library. Future agenda items, Friends of Franklin High School presentation, athletics and activities report, health clinic report, board policies, final approval of new policy manual effective July 1st, 2026. Robinwood Elementary School presentation, academic excellence scholarship recipient approvals, technical excellence scholarship recipient approvals, state convention reports, and student fees. And I am looking for a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, a motion to enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851C, district administrator self-evaluation of goals mid-year and discussion of administrative contracts. So the motion was made by Mrs. Sapersky, seconded by Dr. Khan. We need a voice vote, please.
Mr. Sprague?
Aye.
Mrs. Witkowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Yank?
Aye.
Mrs. Sapersky?
Aye.
Dr. Khan?
Aye.
Mrs. Larson?
Aye.
I vote aye.
We are in closed session, 8:39. Take a few minutes if anybody needs to. Looking for a motion?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Yank, seconded by Mrs. Witkowski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 10:05.